Now he's made me $15,000 in 1 month.
Yeah.
And I can help pay everything, keep everything going. Yep. Those are the seeds that we plant.
Amen.
You know, so, you know, we go above and beyond. We look for the long term.
Welcome back to Podcast on Wheels. I'm your host, Brian Smith, and today in studio, we've got a real treat for you. Mr. Bart Davis. Welcome to the show, Bart.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Guys, I've gotten to know Bart over the last year or so, and we've got some things in common. We used to be athletes, but we're going to save that for another time. Bart, start us about 2005 when you got into business and kind of how that works.
So 2005, I was a sophomore in college. I was a president of a fraternity, Phi Gamma Delta. And I was really just bored. You know, there wasn't anything to do in town. You know, I knew our area was rich in music, but I was like, why is there not a place that you can go listen to music in a town that's known for music? I didn't understand it. So anyways, I was working at Outback at the time. I'd had my real estate license and just trying to really keep my car payment paid and my tuition paid. And I got an opportunity to buy a restaurant lease inside of a hotel. So I did it, and I just kind of put all my money in and did guerrilla marketing, you know, posted flyers on every elevator at UNA, and, you know, people knew me because I was the president of fraternity. So went to all the sororities. I said, look, man, I'm trying to do this thing. If y'all want to have a good, fun time in college, this is when it's going to happen, you know. So that was October 15th, 2005, and we closed it down for 30 days. We remodeled it, made it a music venue, 1,500 square feet. And I remember the first night I was at Outback. So I kind of spent a lot of money on a band. And I was like, look, this is either going to go or not. It's going to be a flop, or like we're fixing to make history.
Right.
And so I was dating a girl that ran track at Mississippi State, and she came in and she's like, look, you're stressed. Like, we need to go to Outback, have a good meal before y'all open, because we were supposed to open at 8 o'clock. And this was like 5. I was like, all right. Well, the band had called me earlier that day and said, hey, you know, we've had some family issues. We're not going to be able to make it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I put everything into this, you know. There's like, we're just joking. I was like, whee. So I'm like, wow. So she's like, come on, we just go to Outback. Let's have a good meal. Let's relax. Well, so I left my phone in my car to charge, because of course everybody's calling me, asking me, well, you know, what's going on, whatever. So we get back and I have like 30 missed calls from this band. And we're like 2 hours before we're supposed to open the doors. And I call them back, and they're like, look, we're not joking this time. Like, our axle is sitting beside our trailer in Walmart parking lot in Moulton, Alabama. I'm like, that's an hour from me. They're like, yeah, like, we're supposed to open the doors in 3 hours. They're like, yeah, I know. I have a Mustang Cobra. I'm not going to be able to take all this lighting equipment. So I had a guy that worked for me that was leasing the F-150. Me and the girlfriend I was dating at the time got in the car. Didn't know what to expect. Never even met these people before. We get there. We're flying. We're going like 90 miles an hour to Moulton, right? So we get in the parking lot, and they're like, sure enough, their axle was sitting beside their trailer. And it was like a 20-foot trailer. So we load all this stuff up back in the F-150. 4 band members in the back, extended cab. The girl I was with, she was sitting in on the top of the console. There was 2 band members in the front, and I'm driving, and I call. I was like, look, I want all the pledges. Don't ask questions. I need y'all at this address, ASAP. Grab a box and go. Grab a box, go in. Don't ask questions, you know. So anyways, I said, look, I've got people that's going to be there to help us unload all this. I mean, we're talking about trusses. We're talking about, if people walk by or drove by us on the way back from Moulton, they'd be like, what is going on here? So anyways, we got there. They unloaded everything. They set everything up. 3-hour wait to get in that night. The police had to come detour traffic in and out of the hotel. And I was just like, we did it. You know, we did it. You know, and like, it's so crazy. That was 20 years ago, right? I was yesterday at Sam's, and this girl's like, hey, I know you. I'm like, okay, where do you know me from? She goes, Louis. And I'm like, Lord have mercy. And we sit there and talked about some good times. I was like, you're from Carver Heights, right? She's like, yeah, I'm Kelly. It's like, yeah. She goes, you need to have a reunion show. And I was like, well, we've thought about maybe doing that, because there's so many people, you know. When Usher was at the Super Bowl the other day, or a couple years ago, somebody's like, I feel like I was just at a Wednesday night at Louis. So like, there was like 1,000 comments, like 200 shares, you know. People just, I keep hearing stories of like people met their husband or wife there. It was just, It was really the only thing to do in town, but it was just like people would pay $50 or $75 just to get in because we would have to quit letting people in.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my start of my entrepreneurial restaurant industry, and I've been in it ever since.
Well, I do have to say, while you were telling that story, I had this vision for the older viewers that we have the Beverly Hillbillies where Jed Clampett's got all the stuff on the truck leaving. That's what I envisioned when you went to pick that band up. So
it was probably just about like
probably look about like that, like y'all remember.
Yeah. Guess the girl I was dating was the granny.
Man. And in Alabama, you do see some funny stuff going down the road, guys. I think I saw a guy hanging out from under a hood working on a truck while they were driving earlier. Bart, you went for it, right? You said, here, I've got this investment. I want more for myself. I went for it.
I have much to lose. Funny story. I do want to like stress this. So I was friends with a guy that worked for a guy that a long time ago, somebody had helped him start a business. And so my friend like mentioned this to him. He's like, look, man, I've got this guy's got a great vision. He'll pay you back until he dies. You can trust this guy. So this guy like called the bank and he was on the board at the bank and said, look, give this guy a $10,000 loan. If you don't pay it, I'll pay it. And they're like, because of who this guy was, it is okay. So he co-signed, but he didn't really co-sign.
Sure. And
I'll never forgot that because there's so many, and like you can ask my team, like we help so many people that's in that situation that don't, if we don't help them, then they don't get the jump because it takes money to make money, but it also takes hard work. And, I've always wanted to, but the worst feeling, the guy just was a recluse. He didn't want to, you just shake his hand and say, that was how he was. But the worst feeling is waking up in the morning in the Sunday paper, and he's on the front page of the paper is in the obituaries. That you really, you made several attempts, but you didn't get to shake his hand and say, man, you don't know what you've done for me, 10 years later.
Yeah.
How many people I've employed, how many families that we've had,
Right.
how many relationships has been, we created a brand, and I wouldn't be able to do that without him. And, so yeah, I just want to throw that out there, man. Like, that's a tough pill to swallow, but, he helped us and I'm paying it forward. So that's kind of somebody did that for him and he was paying it forward to me. And then I'm paying it forward to, some of my customers.
That's good that you share that part of the story because a lot of people out there, they're like, okay, well, how did you get started? Well, does it take but you had a relationship with that guy, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Before then, I mean, he's
the guy that worked for him, but that's all about your character.
Yes.
It doesn't matter it's all about your character. Like he told that guy, I'll vouch for him.
Right.
He will pay you back if he has to pick up cans on the side of the road.
Right.
And that guy trusted his right hand man.
Yeah. And what's 10 grand?
Yeah. What's 10 grand?
Yeah. To the right person.
To this guy, it's nothing.
No, and the thing that I've enjoyed the most about our friendship and business opportunities that we were discussing before the show, but it's like you do make sure that people get the information. You communicate well. It's like that's one thing that I feel like you've done with us is you've been able to say, hey, this is how this could do. This is how this could do. So when you're helping people get started or you're looking at those things and like, hey, we can help you get started here. What are some of the things that you look for? Because obviously you can't just let everybody jump in and go to work, but what are some criteria or like a gatekeeper for that?
You got to want it, and you can tell by talking to somebody and their story. Like we don't really like doing things where people just sign up for our services and then we never first step is like, come in, see our office, see what we're about, see our personalities, because if our personalities don't match, then it's just going to be hard for us to give you the best, and they come in, they're like, wow, massage chair, big screens, like podcast studio, like couches, like, man, this is like I was like, yeah, I spend more time here than I do my house, know? So,
right.
But it really like shocks everybody. They're like, and it makes them feel comfortable. And we sit there on the table and say, all right, so tell me your story.
Yep.
Like, why are you doing what you do? Why do you sell insurance? Why are you a roofer? Why are you in HVAC? Do you like doing that? What's your goals? And we just like learning about the person. And then we cater that to what their goals are. We're not going to sell you something that they don't need because we're going to be the person they call like, hey, man, that ain't working. Well, I told you didn't need it. So if you'll just trust us And we've been really lucky, and I've been really fortunate that because I guess my background and you know, people know that I don't do anything unless it's all out.
Mhm.
I don't do anything
Half-ass, you can.
Yeah. And they know, you know, they don't know all the struggles I went through. You know, they don't know all the cold showers. I was taking cold showers before it was popular, not by choice.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I want to make sure everybody else is taken care of before,
I understand.
because I'm okay being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
I'm always uncomfortable.
Mhm.
You know, when you get comfortable, it's when everything starts going downhill.
Mhm.
And I've seen that in the past. It's happened to me in the past. I was rich, I was broke, I was rich again, I was broke again. Well, I'm not going to be broke again.
Right.
I'm not going to get comfortable.
Right.
You know, so luckily I've got some great guys that work with me now where I don't have to work 20 hours a day to be, you know, to be like that. But, you know, you got to want it. And if you're just wanting to just get by, we're not the marketing company for you.
And that's what you know, we've met and doing what we do, we've met a ton of people in marketing. And that's one of my favorite things when I go to an event or I'm meeting somebody, Bart, and I'm like, okay, what do you do? And they say, well, we do marketing. And I'm like, okay, well, how? What separates your marketing company from another marketing company? And so go into that a little bit with us. Like, what do you guys, because you guys don't just make content or this or this or this. Y'all specialize and help people with more than that, because not only your experiences, but you are a restaurant owner and you know what it takes to get that job accomplished, right? But you told me some stories about maybe the upfront apparel shops or these things, or you got options there.
Yeah,
for people,
yeah.
right? So tell us a little bit about that.
So we just try to we try to buy you time, because that's one thing that I've learned, you know, that you can't buy, you know. So what we do is we set up processes, automations, you know, where everything is kind of organized for you. You know, there's lots of great restaurant owners out there, but they're horrible managers and they're horrible marketers. So we just try to like team up with you and tell you kind of we'll tell you like it is. We're not going to sugarcoat anything, you know, like, you know, I had a customer one time that I went in like John Taffer because he asked me to. And I said, look, he goes, I want you to address the team after. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you still going to be my, you know, he goes, yeah, I'm sure. So I went in there and just let them have it. And their mouths were wide open. I'm like, yeah, this is my last night here. But he came up to me and he said one thing that I tell this story a lot because he gets it. He said, I respect you more now than I ever would have or ever have. And he said, feedback is a gift.
Amen.
And like, I'm getting chills right now because like, it really is. But we let our emotions get involved when we're responding to a post. It's just going to make it worse. It's throwing gas on a fire. If you would just like put yourself in their shoes, nobody's perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and just say, look, reach out to me. What gets me aggravated is when they don't reach back out to you. Like, hey, I want to know really what happened.
Yeah.
What caused you to give us a 2-star?
Right.
Don't just give us a 2-star. Don't tell me what happened. Like,
Right.
I put my personal cell phone on my reviews. Hey, call me. I want to know who your server was. I want to know what the situation is so I can look at the tapes and the video and see so I can be better. If I don't know what's going on, I can't be better. But you should be giving us good reviews, not just the bad ones.
Right. Right.
And that's what, when you go to these people's profiles that do these reviews, and all of them are bad, I'm like, so he never gives anybody praise for anything good.
Right.
I don't let it bother me. I used to like,
Yeah.
you know,
Of course.
yeah.
Of course.
But you just got to take the emotion out of it. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. If you really, and when you look at that word feedback, and I'm a reference a friend of mine here, Mr. Alfano, and I think, yeah, his podcast is named Feedback. And that's one thing that he really helped me with over the last couple of years is, especially in my relationship with my wife, okay, in that capacity, like to be a guy and your wife kind of, I say, check you and you say thank you, that's hard to do for a guy.
Pride.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I'm going into that a little bit more in depth is because here's what I love about this show. And this is something I've just learned sitting on this side of this table. It doesn't matter who's been on that side of the table, but the ones that have been successful and the ones that are, and successful means that they're doing what they can do to be happy, right? We're not monetized. We're not talking about, okay, well, he's a 100 millionaire, 200 millionaire, and they've been here. Great, whatever. But in order to do that and to take that feedback and adjust and get better, tell us a story that maybe over the last couple years or things like you've gotten feedback for many years, and how has that helped you with your marketing or advertising? Or like you were telling me something earlier, bro, and I thought this was amazing. Like you can order and the app does the thing. What? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we can set it up where like it's a lot of restaurants, you know, it's a huge industry, you know, swag shops, especially like that. Some of my accounts down at the beach, they'll do 250,000 in merch. You know, that's merch.
Yeah.
You know, it's just everybody wants their brand out there on everybody, you know, hats, shirts. I mean, look at Hooters, their whole model, besides girls in short dresses, was their merch, right? Had the city on there.
Yeah.
You try to collect those at all the cities, you know, that was a smart thing to do. But that's also a lot of process of having to design it, having to put it on a website, having to take payments, having to ship it out. You ain't got time to do that. If you have a successful restaurant, you ain't got time to do merch. So what we do is we set up websites for online ordering, reservations, stuff like that. We'll also set them up a swag shop. We'll help them build that brand out. So the order gets placed on their site, comes to us, and then we fulfill it and ship it out to their customer. Then we cut them a check every quarter for the profit.
Nice.
So that's just something we do that's kind of separates us from the Toast, the Squares, the Clover, the people like that.
Right. And that's the unique thing. You know, people talk about, you know, I am who I am, and I don't back away from that. But it's like people say, what's your unique selling proposition? And I usually say me, because I don't know much, right? It's just me. I'm the unique selling proposition. But from your business, and I want to go back into, you talked about your layout. Guys, I'm going to tell you, when I went over there, I didn't know what to expect, right? And we pull up, and it's a small business place where there's a few people in there. Do you have half the building?
We've got, 4 offices.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, when you walk in, it's like it's a big screen. It's a full couch. It's a living room feel area. You also said when some of your people come over, like they just come over and sit, and now you've got a comfortable environment where y'all can talk.
Be relaxed.
Right?
We can be people, not business, you know, not business owners. Yeah.
And it's people to people, right?
It's building relationships. I mean, that's what we're big on.
Tell me about that. Tell me about, because this is one thing that I laugh about, man. You were telling me when we first met all the seeds you had planted and you're meeting and meeting. And then we had the event that you came over. Thanks for joining us that night. And then I think you said like the next Monday. And then since then, your business is now doing well, right?
Yeah, man. It was, the day I was on that way, I got a call from, you know, one of 12 CPAs that I called to try to get some tax work done for, you know, some balance sheet stuff. None of them called me back, you know, and I was just like, the state representative called me back, and I'm like, if he can call me back, like, surely these other CPAs are not busy enough. Like, he calls me in between sessions, you know. So anyways, I was like, I looked over at Zach, and I was like, man, that's just a weight off my chest that we're getting this done. We're, you know, because we're filing new businesses for our 5-year plan. So I needed all this stuff filed and get close to the deadline and all that. And then by the time we got, this was like in Lawrenceburg. I don't know if you know Lawrenceburg. All right. So by the time we got from Lawrenceburg, from that call where I was just like, to the time we parked in downtown Nashville, right off 5th Avenue, we'd closed 5 deals over the phone. And it was people that I'd planted seeds. I'd almost gave up on them, honestly. You know, I was like, well, we're not going to get this. And then they called and they were like, you know what? I've been thinking about it. You are a little bit more expensive, but I want to do business with you. And I was like, man, you don't know how it makes me feel.
Right.
That's the whole goal.
Right.
You know, anybody can take a payment. Anybody can ring up you know, but who are you going to call when things go bad? Because they will go bad.
Yeah.
Eventually. You might run out of paper, ribbon, something where you can, you know, in the weekend, just like we had a customer yesterday, the busiest day of the year for a barbecue place is Memorial Day. Wasn't even our customer, we helped them out.
Right.
You know, we're not making a dime off of them.
Right.
Yeah. They ended up signing up with us because we helped them out, but we wasn't going into that thinking that we were going to, you know.
Right. I think one of your employees go eat lunch there or something.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, and she was complaining about it. It's like, well, that's what we do for a living.
Yeah.
He gave her a card, and it was about a week and a half later, when she really thought about, like, we forgot about Memorial Day we got coming up. We might need to call those guys. So we was over there in 10 minutes by the time she called us.
Yeah.
And then she called us again to make sure that, hey, we're still good for that, right? Sure.
So that's what I want you guys to hear, that Bart started 20 years ago but he's still looking for opportunities everywhere he goes, and he's training his staff and his guys that are helping him. And you know, I say that when I said the word staff, I almost felt bad because they seem like y'all are buddies.
Oh,
It's
brothers,
like,
man. We're
you know,
brothers.
it's. I think that's one of the cool things is, you know, now you got gray in your beard, they don't. Okay, I will say you look older, but at the same time, when you can see a group of guys and you don't really know who, that's a good team.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, you're like, okay, well, is he? Wait, well, he knows this part. Wait, he knows. Wait. So when we were talking earlier, that's the cool part.
Yeah.
And tell it, you know, some of the things, because the guys are here in the studio, they're sitting right over on the other side. So you can brag on them, tell us the truth about them, but tell them, what do they bring? Did you switch the camera? Sweet. Got everybody in there. Tell us a little bit about what they bring to the table by being their age. Like, you know, what do they do?
So for the people that know me back home, they know that my niece had a tragic car wreck, you know, and I was going through some tough times, and my way of expressing my feelings is like this. It's just talking and journaling and doing all kinds of stuff like that. And so I went over to a place where Zach was working. I didn't know Zach at the time. He was from a different state, but I was going there to buy a computer. So Zach was helping with his computer. Then this guy tried to come in and try to steal his commission. I was like, no, Zach's got me. He goes, oh, I'm okay. I didn't make, and because Zach got asked him a question, he was trying to take over the commission.
Right.
So anyways, he's like, why do you want the computer? I said, well, you know, I just felt on my heart that I need to do a podcast to give people hope, you know, and just share my experiences and stuff. And so, and the reason I say that is because it holds me accountable.
Amen.
It's not because I'm not bragging about something.
Bro, last night, Courtney and I talked about that.
You know,
It does.
yeah, I sit down with my preacher before I even went on this journey. I was like, he goes, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, I just, you know, I wanted to tell my preacher that, you know, because like if I tell him that, then man, I got to do it. And we're going to say, man, he's just full of it. Right. But I don't like brag about anything. Seriously, I'm the most humble person you'll probably ever meet. But it was funny. Like after I left, the guy told Zach, he's like, yeah, he's full of shit. And like Zach told me that a couple of weeks ago. I was like, well, that guy's calling us now for work. You know, it's just super cool because they thought, he ain't nothing. Well, then I gave him a job, and then he got to quit there.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh, okay. So it's just kind of it's funny how things work out like that. But like Zach was with me first, and then I went over to one of my customers, and I walked in, met Ben, and he was there just temporarily helping, you know. He had just graduated. It was a temporary job. And I went in, and I'll never forget. I was like, he knew that they were switching point of sales. So I go in. Ben knows. He done went to the website, researched the company, things that the point of sale can do, how it works. I'm like, dude, there's people that work for the same provider that don't know what you just know. So anyways, it's just a good first impression.
Yeah.
You know, he was excited. He said, man, I think this would be great for, even though it wasn't his business, he was treating it like it was his business. So I went back to the office and I told Zach, I said, dude, I don't want to poach nobody's employee, but like there's this guy that just gives me great energy.
Yep.
Like he's just positive. He was on top of it. He was eager to learn. You know, employees are not really eager to learn a lot of times.
Right.
They're used to doing it the old way, and it's comfortable for them not to have to learn a new point of sale. So Zach was like, let's talk to him. What gave me the money really and the confidence to hire my first employee after I had 3 employees before that, just
Wasted money.
Yeah. And wasted energy.
Yeah.
There's a grant in the state of Alabama that for certain criteria, they'll give you up to 400 or 500 hours, but they'll pay half the salary. I think Zach's was like 400 hours. They would pay half his salary. So that allowed me to pay him enough where he didn't have to think about that old little job he had over working part-time. So I got Ben on the same deal.
Yeah.
His wasn't as many hours because he had a degree, but it worked out like it was meant to be because he didn't have a full-time job because he was helping with family. So he qualified for that grant. So that allowed me to like add 2 employees just like that.
Yeah.
You know, and then man, we went on vacation together. I took him to Vegas to the trade show. We went to Orlando to a trade show. You know, Zach had never flown before. We flew first class. Like, I wanted to say, look, guys, if y'all hang in there until we get this thing going, like, I've got the people we need now. I've had the vision.
Right.
I just didn't have the people.
Right.
And I can't do it without them. I'm 42, I think. I'm 42, and these guys are so, they had a phone in their hand when they were 3 or 4 years old. You know, it's just a total different.
It is.
We need these guys. So if you can find one of these young guys that are willing to work and have the same vision as you, man, you should hire them.
Yeah. Well, and let's go back and I just want to say this. By you taking the guys and taking them on those trips and doing those things, man, that's in of itself giving them a glimpse of things I didn't get to see. You didn't get to see. Anybody fly you anywhere when you were? Hell no. Like, I mean, no. And it's like, wow, okay, so that's how you're taking them. You're bringing them in. How, Zach, is Zach 13, 14? How does
he was 20 when I hired him. He's 22.
Oh, he's got hair on his face. Yeah. He got to be older than 18. Okay. All right.
We get 3 different perspectives.
Yes.
We get a 21, 29, and a 42. So it's pretty cool because we get to, it's just when we sit down with our customers, they might understand me, but they also understand their nephew because they're their age.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to meet with y'all today about this next project that we discussed.
Yeah, and everybody's got their own strengths and weaknesses, but we all, at the end of the day, we're all still best friends. We all still meet and have cookouts, and we take Ben's kids, and I go down to church. They go to church with me. Like, we're just family.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people say that we're family.
Yeah.
Well, we're family.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we went on vacation together for a week and had a blast.
Right.
You know, and we're going to go on another one this summer.
So y'all did a post on your social media from the beach. Was that during the vacation? Tell me about Julio. What did he say? I'll do some funny posts. You got a ski corn dog. We got a Julio on the beach. We got, come on.
So we were going to take pictures of Ben's family.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we just bought these expensive cameras and we were trying to get used to how they worked. We saw this guy, a Mexican guy, sitting on a bucket in the sand.
Video.
Yeah. So it was hilarious. Like, we just went with it. That's the first time I'd ever interviewed somebody. And I was like, and he's like, Carlos Menendez. And he's like, if you got a sister, I'm like, you just tell me you were married. He's like, and then we was like, that's when he knew he had messed up. He goes, I'm a hard worker. It was just crazy, though. Yeah.
You got a sister.
I was like, you just tell me you were married.
That was hilarious because
we got thousands of views on TikTok on that. That was the first thing we really content we really made as just us being natural. You know, we had no intentions of really doing that. We were just like, hey, let's take the mic. You know, it was in the bag. We just took the mic because we were going to take pictures on the beach of Ben's family. And it was just like, it turned into like, then he started like hitting on Ben's mom and Ben's sister. He's like, are you married? Are you married? Like, dude, come on. Like, it was funny.
Him and his bucket, bro. You got to have dreams, but you got to, well, good luck next time.
And then in Nashville, we found Zach's he's a big TikToker.
Yeah.
So he found this guy.
What's his name, Zach?
Ski. Yeah.
Ski corn dog. Was it good?
It was, we only ate about half of it. It was huge. Like a 20-inch hot dog. He was like, ski corn. And he was going to the whatever song it is by, it was hilarious. Everybody started copying him.
Yeah.
So there's like 5 or 6 ski. But he was the original. So
I love
we
it.
made sure we supported him.
There's people in marketing that don't get marketing because they're scared of other people's opinion or they're worried about how they did this or that. And that's why I wanted to bring up y'all's content because it's funny. And obviously Zach doesn't care what his hair looks like in the content, right? It's not like y'all have a green room where he's got to get fixed up because I think, and comments help. Right?
Yeah.
So if your hair's messed up and somebody says, hey, your hair looks like crap, well, guess what? Thank you. And can you give me some tips on how to design it? So that's how I want you guys to comment on this show, right?
Well, there was a guy told me something in a meeting a couple weeks ago, and it was very interesting. When you have somebody that makes you an excuse of like, nobody wants to work with me. He's like, there's 4 types of people in this world, personalities. You can't find one person that meets your personality that wants to do business with you. That's an excuse. I was like, you know what? He's right. There's people out there that want to do people with this just natural. It's not wearing a 4-piece suit. I've sold $1 million houses in real estate when I was in real estate. And I got there and they're like, so are you your dad's assistant? Because they saw my online
Yeah.
content and my reviews and stuff. Then I'm, no, it's me.
That's
I'm 21, got 20 agents working for me, my own agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just old enough to be a broker.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's go.
Yeah.
Once they, but the perception was I would have gray hair.
Right. When's the last time you had a suit on? Outside funeral or wedding? 5 years. Well, maybe not that long. 25. Wow.
Well, no, actually I had a gala,
Did
a
you?
Valentine's Day gala 3 years ago, but I went and bought the suit just for that. And it's not the only time I wore it.
I love it. I love it. I just didn't see you as a suit guy,
But my personality, like people I'm friends with.
You're real, Bart.
I'm real, man.
You're just
I
real.
don't care what you have, where you been from, I don't care where you're going because you're not going to be hanging around me if you're not going somewhere, going to the top. So
That's it, bro. And that's the one thing that I love about this show. See, you've hit some things along the way, but we found out where you started, how you got started. Somebody helped you out. Somebody looked out for you. And the cool part of that story, I know you said that, you said, well, you wished you maybe could have shook his hand and this, or this, but that wasn't his style.
yeah, he needs.
And it would have embarrassed him a little bit, possibly, for you to encounter that. And then that may have changed. You never know. I think God has a way of doing that because, I know people who have done that and they're like, nah, that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've kept like.
Let's put that seed in my heart to pay it forward.
And I love it. Opportunities versus obstacles. You see as okay, there's a no over here, well, that means my yes is over here. And all those things that you've done to bring it from there to here. Yeah, we had some funny content and different things along the way, but 5 deals on the way to Nashville? Come on now.
Dude, and then we walk into
I've sold cars, I've sold insurance, I don't think I've had 5 closings.
these ain't small deals.
No.
These are big deals.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the right time to get in with you guys because you guys are leading also with the technology. And that's why you got the young bucks, right?
Oh,
They've had the phone in their hand. They understand it. They've taught me things today, right? Not much, but they've taught me a couple things. So, but Bart, what are some things that you would recommend to a restaurant owner if I said, hey, what are the 3 things that you have to do as a restaurant owner for your marketing plan? What are 3 things you got to do?
And you got to be present or you got to have somebody that's going to be present.
Okay.
Everybody's not going to treat the restaurant like you. So, what I like to do with people that I'm consulting and stuff, look, find somebody that you can give them a little piece of the pie. Let it treat them like,
Right.
pay them for profit. And guess what? Then they're going to be going through the garbage can to make sure there's no silverware thrown in there.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all about profit. I learned that.
Never thought about that. I've never thought about silverware being thrown away because the waiter was too lazy to.
It's one of the most wasted items in a restaurant.
See?
And I learned that from Outback Steakhouse. That's where when I bought my first restaurant, I was still working there and I had my own restaurant.
Right.
I was barely old enough to even buy liquor, but they had a thing called stars.
Okay.
So every time somebody dropped a glass and one of the cooks said, well, there goes our stars check. It was a profit sharing. So the more profit, the less supplies they have to buy, the less forks, napkins, plates, spoons. Somebody drops a whole thing of tray. Well, those glasses are $4 each.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that takes out your stars check. And every quarter, you would get it depending on how many hours you worked in that quarter. It would be a little tip share. But, man, it would be 40, 50, sometimes it's $150. It really depends on what quarter it was. So I
money to a server, right?
bet you.
Yeah.
There's 40 servers on staff.
That's what I'm talking about. It's
So, I kind of learned that. We always kind of joke, well, there goes our star check, even though, we don't have a star check.
Sure, but it's.
But we still do, something similar to that. But that's where I learned that. That was one of the most important things that I learned at Outback, besides, having a routine, having a system for everything, where you can give them a book, brand new employee, you can give them a book, shows them exactly the measurements of everything to make. If you're making recipes and stuff.
Right.
Like ingredient cards.
Right. So as far as.
Know your numbers.
The numbers. Knowing your numbers.
Look, most restaurants are 13 days from going out of business.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Restaurants are 13 days cash flowing from being out of business.
Yeah.
We learned that during COVID. So what we did during COVID is we went in and said, look, we don't even care if you're our customer. we want to set you up an online ordering profile where people can at least order online. And it really saved a lot of our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a pizza restaurant that we worked for. We went to Dollar Tree, got 12 glue sticks and made them some posters to put on their to-go boxes with a QR code to their online ordering platform. Skyrocketed their business, saved their business. They had 3 locations. Stuff like that. It cost us $20 in paper. We didn't charge him. We just said, look, man, we're going to stamp all these boxes for you.
We're in this with you.
We're in this with you.
We're in this with you.
Because guess what?
I
I wasn't making any money either because my restaurant was closed.
Right.
And all my customers were closed. You know, luckily I'd helped somebody out that I made $2 a year off of, turned out to be the largest distributor of hand sanitizer. And when you don't know where you're going to get your next light bill or whatever, and you get that residual check, and you're like, that's got to be a mistake, but you don't really want to call them to tell them it's a mistake. So you start looking into it, you start typing in, and then you see them on MSNBC. Wow, that's that guy that I drove all the way to Knoxville, and I've only made $6 off of in 3 years. And now he's made me $15,000 in 1 month.
Yeah.
And I can help pay everything, keep everything going.
There you go.
Those are the seeds that we plant.
Amen.
You know? So, you know, we go above and beyond. We look for the long term.
And as on this show, we try to focus on faith, family, fitness, finance, and I think we've hit some of that. And you said the guys go to church with you, so we've got the faith. Family is important to you. I think we've talked in person. Let's call it 8 times. I don't know, 8 times, and I bet you've told me about family and your people and stuff. It's important to you.
Yeah.
And I, you know, the fitness we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
I'm 40 pounds down.
Zach's got to lose 80. Bart, is there something that if you wish, I'm gonna ask you this question. I thought about asking it on a show and I've never asked it. What would you tell yourself to remember in 5 years from today? Like a lot of people ask, what would you tell yourself if you could go back when you were 20? Hey, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through this. You're gonna think it's hard. It's gonna suck. But where do you hope that you could tell yourself in 5 years from right now? Like, what do you see? What is your vision out there?
I would tell myself, you believed in yourself and you did it.
Yeah.
Because we're going to do it.
Yeah.
It just depends on when.
And the guy's telling the truth, man. I mean,
we do everything purpose driven. You know, when you do business with me or my company, it's not a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a lot bigger than that. And, you know, a lot of people knows what I'm talking about and they'll see that within a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this about the business part to kind of wrap up the business side. You came over to that networking thing that I mentioned earlier in the show. And when you got there, like I just watched you work with the people in the room. I watched you talk. I watched you do things and got some feedback from Brian Robinson on there. And he's like, man, that guy was good, you know? And I think y'all talked and he's got things and he's got clients and you got, and it's like, there's opportunities there. Right.
Yeah.
And you know, you're authentic, you're real, you're genuine, but is there anything that I didn't know to ask? Is there something that you want to tip on or hit on that you got upcoming or something people need to, like how to get in touch with you, how to follow you? What are some things?
You know, our website is view360.marketing. We have a chat on there. We have a live chat on there that goes to one of our team members who's set up for that day. But all of our phone numbers are on there. Even if you call our office after hours, it forwards, you know, because our business is not a 9 to 5.
Right.
You know,
of course.
And it's just, when you have a restaurant, you're not busy. First of all, you're not open till till noon lots of the time. And like, we know how important it is. If you can't take payments from your customers, you can't keep the doors open. So I went out at 2:00 in the morning to help somebody change a machine out so we could put tips in so they can have the money to open up Monday, you know, and it's just part of the game. And like everybody that's close to me understands, like, I'm not going to be that 9 to 5, you know, I'm not going to be able to be home at 3:00 every day. But like nobody that I've dated so far, they want the end result, but they don't want the journey. You know, they want the big house. They want the nice vacations. They want the, you know, the luxuries. They want to wear name brand stuff, but they don't want the leader of the household to work 14 hours some days.
Right. Of course.
And I take time off for you know,
Yeah.
for family and friends. And
But there ain't anybody, even the guys, the big dogs that we went to listen to last week, they're putting 12, 14-hour days in. I mean,
100%.
come on now.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's who. When you have $150 million, you're still going to put 10, 12-hour days in. That's who you are.
Yeah.
You're going to find something.
You're just going to have a bigger team to help you.
Exactly. It's going to be, it's going to be spread out. But that's
Delegation was big.
So
So delegation, when I hired these guys, because I'd had a bad experience with hires, like having some quit me and try to steal my business, I was very hesitant. And these guys like, look, man, you know, Ben was like, hey, what can I take off your plate? Because they see the stress in my eyes sometimes. I mean, they printed a poster and put it on their board. It's me sitting and there's like people pulling me from arms and legs. And it's like Bart on a Monday.
Yeah.
You know, just because they see the stress in my eyes and my, but they, what can we do for you? They ask me every day, what can I take off your plate?
Yeah.
And it was so hard for me at the beginning to like delegate that stuff because it always been done wrong. I had to babysit it. I'm like, you know, these guys, I tell them a task, they find a way to do it, and it's always better than I would do it.
Man, you know who Jesse Etzler is? Do you know that name? His wife, Sarah, help me, Blakely. She has Spanx. Jesse Etzler owns part of the Hawks. And
I've seen some of their stuff.
so I'm listening to him talk today, and he said that when he goes to his employees or Sarah goes to her employees, he said, if you didn't have a training manual for this job, how would you do it? How would you sell that product? How would you close that? And it sounds like you kind of have, now you've built the relationship with these guys and the trust is there, right? I mean, because come on, you're not going to let somebody walk in and get the secret sauce.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, some of my good friends that have been business owners for a long time, like they were waiting on their kid to get old enough and hoping that he wanted the business because that's the only person they trusted to get all the contacts. Because once you get your contacts in your network.
Yeah, I posted something the other day. I was like, you know, your net worth is your network.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and I mean, I really appreciate you like inviting us to that thing. Honestly, I was so busy. I'm like, man, I kept putting it off. And he's like, hey, man, you need to be in the room. You told me, you said you need to be, if you want to do what you told me you want to do, you need to be in the room with people like this. So I was like, all right, Zach, let's go. And, you know, being unfortunately couldn't make it with us that day.
Sure.
But I went in that room and I was like, Zach, look around. He said, dude, this is everything that's in our 5-year plan. From the cafe at the bottom to the theater to the podcast room to the money lounge, like it was like I wrote that business plan for that building, and it kind of let me and him know. Like that's why we were like, man, let's go get on some scooters after this. You know, like we went. Me 42-year-olds riding scooters, it's, you know, 250. But anyways, we were like, dude, this is possible. Yeah. It kind of gave us a little bit of motivation. It's like, man, I think we're on the right track.
That's awesome.
And I told Coach Bert that on the phone yesterday. He called me. And I was like, dude, it's just, you know, I love your vision. I love your website, man. I looked at your website. I was like, well, that's my guys. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing some coaching. So I'll be in Nashville a lot here the next 3 or 4 months. And I've got friends there that's like, hey, man, you didn't even call me. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I thought we was just going to be in and out. And
you know what? I've had a few people that are no longer friends because when I go to Vegas now, I don't have time to go out and drink and party.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not where I'm going.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm going out there to get better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's one thing that I try to make sure that I do and pay attention. There's one account that we don't know how much we got left in, and that's time.
Yeah.
But boy, do we waste it.
Man.
You know, and it's like
quicker than anything.
You around these type people, it's hard to waste time.
Oh yeah, it's all
right.
It's just the energy, man. Like
it is.
We walked in that auditorium, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. You know, me and Zach looked at each other. I see Zach over. I'm talking to you, and Courtney. He's over selling our software to somebody. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. You know?
People engaged. You had the guy in front of you with the crazy
the whole time. Yeah. It was just cool to see that. Yeah. To witness that, like. Yeah. Because it's intimidating to go into a place where you don't know a single soul. Yeah. You're walking in with a name tag and you're like, this guy's, I know he's a millionaire because only millionaires come to this event.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. But you got to look at it like he puts his pants on just like I do. He gets in the same car as I do. He drives the same route as I do. Why can I not be that person? Yeah.
Well, I don't have one of Coach Bert's Maybachs yet, but, you know, I mean, I don't have that same car, but, you know.
Oh,
And Mike's not driving me yet, but hey, we'll get there. But no, there's so many things that I see that you're doing that goes along with us. And, you know, for you guys watching, we're in North Alabama and he's about, about an hour and 15 minutes from here, right?
Yeah,
hour 20. Yeah. So, I mean, if you drive, it's an hour. If I go, it's about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
You're faster than me, right?
Spend on the Athens traffic.
But you guys from up here, it's like Bart's right over there in shows, but a lot of your customers in
City Cafe Diner. Right? I've got a couple Mexican restaurants up here.
Yeah.
Little Capone's Italian. So like, yeah, I've got accounts and I got 300 accounts in 12 states. So like, I'm not married or have a kid yet. So I have a little bit more flexibility. So I love traveling. That's like my time by myself where I can reflect on where I'm going, where I've been, and what's the next, next thing to do.
Right.
Well, I'll go with no radio for hours and just thinking, my mind it's always racing.
Did you just say you're in silence for hours? Did you say that? Yeah. There's not many people that can do that. You know that, right?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
You don't scare yourself? I the shit out of myself. When I'm looking silent for more than an hour, I'm like,
yeah.
Wait, I gotta.
Usually when I go on those trips, it's just like I've had a long month of just grinding. And I just need a little bit of peace of mind. I'll answer my phone and stuff, but I'm not like, I'm just in, and I've got some accounts down at the beach.
Yeah.
In like Ocean Springs in Biloxi. I'll leave Florence and get all the way down there. Like, I didn't even turn the radio on yet. 5 hours, And if I am, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm not listening to music.
Right,
really. I'm listening to something that's
getting
going to better me. Because like you said, we don't know how much time we got left. We got to make use of our time as we have it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else is there that you could share that maybe something like a crazy story, like going and getting a boat, or you got a story for us?
Yeah. One more. So one of my friends that I used to sell a couple houses a month to was a real estate investor. You wouldn't know it. He's just the most humble guy. He's just, lives below his means, and he's got a couple hundred properties. But he invited me. He's a big boat guy too, but he don't buy them new. He just buys them used. He finds these deals. Yeah, he finds these deals. So he invited me to go 2 years ago to Chicago, and I had Handy Fest coming up with the restaurant. I just couldn't go. He sent me pictures every day. I was like, man, if there's ever another chance, I didn't think he'd buy another boat.
Yeah,
honestly. So about 3 years later, he bought a boat. He's like, hey man, just bought another boat. It's gonna be about a 30-day trip. Melbourne Beach. We're renting a car. We're driving down there, picking it up. We're driving it all the way to Florence. I'm like, dude, I'm in. I had a marketing conference. I was working for this real estate firm doing some of their marketing. So I went to their program for them, learned the system, flew out of Atlanta, met them down there, got on the boat. We stopped at a different city every night. We stayed at Key West for 4 days. And man, if you've ever been in the middle of the ocean where you can't see land and you see a bird sitting on the perch in the middle, he's like, if you don't believe in God, something wrong with you. When you see the sunset actually setting on the back of a boat in the middle of the ocean, it was a spiritual thing for me.
Right.
And I was in the process of putting together all right, I want to start this marketing. I want to get my podcast. I want to get my thing out of my living room and get it somewhere where I can turn it off.
Right.
I can turn work off, because that was my problem. Is I was working 20 hours a day, and there goes my health and all that. So I'd already leased the building before I went. Just one office. Mm-hmm. Now we have 4, huge suite. But I did my business planning on that boat for 30 days. And I talked with my buddy because he loves brainstorming on ideas. And he said, I remember him saying, he goes, there's 2 things in this world that every kid should be able to experience. Skating rink, and being on a boat just for a day. So we're thinking about maybe doing something where we take underprivileged children and let them just have a day on the boat. But this thing it's got 2 bedrooms and 2 kitchen. Yeah. You could put 30 kids on there, and be safe, because these things don't go.
Barely.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah.
5 or 8 miles an hour. But, and my dad used to own a skating rink, so I understood, you know what? They really should experience those 2 things. Mm-hmm. Thinking about having my birthday party at the skating rink and calling it, it's my party. I skate if I want to. I used to be a pretty good skater and a limbo king.
Well, invite me to the party. I'll be there, but I'm not skating because it'll be rough. No, I'll do it. I'll do it.
But that was a
That'll
special
be
time.
contempt.
That was like I could get, you start going by these houses in Fort Lauderdale. You're like, what's that guy do for a living? What's the, oh, there's the Amazon guy's boat. Like,
Right.
You saw, I want that kind of life,
Mhm.
and not necessarily to show it off. I just want to be able to like experience that. Why can I not do that? And then my buddy Chuck said, you can, and you will. And I was like,
It is that simple.
and here we are, man. We're on our way.
It is that simple.
But
man.
we give back, like we serve people,
Of course.
and that's the bottom line.
Of course.
I can go without power. I can,
Yeah.
I'm here to serve people. The money always takes care of itself at the end of the day, So that's our culture. And we like to have a good time, and we like to serve people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, if somebody was looking at starting a podcast and doing that stuff, it's easy. Right?
Yeah, try to talk just in front of a camera. That's the hard part, really.
It is.
Yeah. You start, it takes a lot of practice, but when we bring people in on our podcast, we just try to just be yourself. Look, we're going to talk. This is going to be edited. It's not live.
Yeah.
I learned that lesson the hard way. And we went live during COVID, and internet was messed up, or tripod messed up. It was just
a learning experience,
big time. But now I've got Zach and Ben that know technology, and they know how to get it working. But we still edit it.
I think Zach may send me an invoice after the show. I think he sighted in one of these cameras, or whatever they call it. I don't even know. Sighted it in. Is that what you call it? A gun or sighted in? All right, that tells you my knowledge of that site.
Yeah, I couldn't have a better group of guys working for me. I mean, we're all believing the same thing. We all know where we're going. We know what we got to do to get there, and we're just, man, we grind it.
That's awesome.
We grind it on tomorrow, Memorial Day. We'll be at one of our grand openings for a restaurant. You tell me another rep that would do that, and I'll get the whole system to you for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not very many people out there who do it on a Memorial Day holiday.
Right.
Or could. They even could.
Or could. Right.
Yeah. Not that they would, but they could.
Right. Right. So is there anything else, Bart?
No, man. We just if we can help anybody, just we're in Florence, but like I said, we're in Huntsville a lot. We're in Gunnersville a lot. We've got customers everywhere, so we're willing to. We do a lot of things remote, but if you got a restaurant, that's our gig. We know how to do that for sure. But we do a lot of high ticket sales too. Roofers, HVAC. Before we got here, we went to a golf tournament to get content for one of our big HVAC and plumbing companies.
Awesome. There's one thing that you said that I'm going to reiterate. You're one of the most humble people I've ever met, and you are. And I want to say thank you for that, because there's a certain energy about you now. Maybe it was the boat ride, maybe it was the connection, maybe it was the different things that you've gotten to experience, But to have you here it's been awesome, brother. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you.
Letting these guys experience it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to have somebody that can figure out what to do. We turn
the cameras on.
Right. Well, brother, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you guys for watching Podcast on Wheels. Listen, if you're a restaurant owner, you need to get in touch with Bart. Even if you're not ready to do this or that, get in touch, get on the phone with him, because he can tell you yes or no, this works, this doesn't work. Just like the silverware, the comments, the bonus checks, things. Guys, get in touch with Bart. He can help you with a lot more than what he told us about in the show, because these guys can do a lot of things. So share the show, comment, send it to somebody that needs to hear it. Thank you for watching Podcast on Wheels.